All right, I'm not gonna lie. Is it just me or does gaming just not feel fun anymore? Like, bruh, I'm a gamer. I'll cook you up in any game. Call of Duty, Fortnite, Minecraft, GTA, Rocket League, Mortal Kombat. It doesn't matter. All right, that's besides the point. So hear me out. You see, gaming felt special back in the day because of innovation. Games like Minecraft, Fortnite completely changed the gaming industry.
What is up, dudes? It's your boy Andy Matrix back with another video. I am here on Angry Guy's channel, and you've seen the topic. The gaming industry is collapsing, and Nintendo is to blame. Now, in a minute, I'll explain why most people blame Nintendo. But before we get to that, guys, make sure to follow me, Andy Matrix. If you haven't heard of me, I have two YouTube channels. I have Andy Society, where I talk about economics and social issues. I also have Andy Matrix Gaming, where I talk about video games, anime, and Japanese culture. So follow me on that. And guys, make sure to follow Angry Guy on Rumble. Okay, YouTube has become the censor station, and Angry Guy is uploading his videos on Rumble. Also, if you want to keep up with video game news, as the world's changing from console to digital, you're gonna want to check out Angry Guy's arcade newsletter. So click the link below this video if you're interested in PC gaming. All the links are in the description. Go ahead and check it out. Now, let's go ahead and get to it. Why do people blame Nintendo? Why do people blame Nintendo? I'll say this. Look, I'll say this because I remember in 2018, 2019, Microsoft and Sony were already planning on going digital. They were all planning, we had the Xbox Game Pass, of course, right? There was that, which, it was basically like the Netflix of gaming. And then, of course, later on, I think a little bit after the pandemic, Sony came out with the PlayStation Plus, I think it was. Yeah, PlayStation Plus. I don't know what you call it. I actually subscribed to it. I used it for 1 month to check it out. So the world was going digital, and people were people were like, we gotta reserve gaming. We gotta make sure that we are able to continue buying physical games, right? And the only one that was actually staying true to physical games was Nintendo. All other companies were just like, hey, we gotta go digital. And then Best Buy announced that they are no longer going to sell CDs. They're no longer going to sell CDs. Right, so people were counting on Nintendo to keep it traditional, right? And for a moment they were, until the Nintendo Switch 2 was announced. Once the Nintendo Switch 2, or more specifically, when the Nintendo Switch 2 was revealed, and then months later, we found out that the cartridges, they're not gonna have the full game in them. The cartridges, they were just gonna have, it was just like a key code. Right, it was just a key code. Basically, you're buying the license to play the game, but you don't really own the game. The game's not there, in other words. So why bother? So the reason why people blame Nintendo is because Nintendo was the first company to create a gaming console. The Game Boy and the NES. So Nintendo has customers all over the world, and a lot of them have been following Nintendo since the 80s. So we're talking about it could be Gen X, right? Some of the Gen X millennials, we've been following, Nintendo for like 3 decades, I think. And so a lot of us are old. Many of us, followers of Nintendo are old. Some of them are in their 40s. I think some in their 50s, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think, Rich from Review Tech USA, he's an older gamer. He's in his 50s. But then we got, some older millennials that are in their early 40s. Millennials like myself in our 30s that have been following, that's just been gaming for a long time. Right? Nintendo was one of the first. And then after the Nintendo, the NES, came to PlayStation. And after the PlayStation came the Xbox. Microsoft had to make their own gaming console. Right, so here's a problem. All right, here's a problem. Whatever Nintendo does, other companies follow. Whatever Nintendo does, other companies follow. A lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't know. I'll put the article here somewhere, but Microsoft actually tried buying Nintendo. And I think this was back in the 2000s or the 2010s. I forget the year. It's either in the late 2000s or early 2010s. Microsoft tried to buy Nintendo at some point. Gee, I wonder why. And Nintendo laughed at them because Nintendo, they don't need Microsoft or PlayStation for that matter. Okay? So Nintendo was one of the first, basically the first gaming company. Whatever they do, everybody else follows. It's like Disney. It's like Disney. Whatever Disney would do back in the day, in the 70s, 80s, other animation companies will try to imitate it. Right? Back in the day, 2-3 decades ago, especially with Studio Ghibli and other Japanese animation companies, they would see what Disney was doing. Whatever Disney was doing, they would try to, they would get inspiration from that. Same thing with Nintendo, right? And what happened recently? Nintendo was one of the first, one of the first, not the first, but one of the first, to start pushing the idea of increasing video game prices from $60 to $70, right? When Nintendo does something, PlayStation and Xbox, they tend to copy, right? Everybody always goes and copies the original. Same thing with Netflix. Netflix came out first, and then all these other television networks, then they started creating their their video streaming service. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong, damn it. Right? And speaking of prices, speaking of $70 games, I actually want you guys to watch this video. I'll put the YouTube channel. The owner of the YouTube channel will be at the bottom of the video. So here it is. Check this out.
Whoa, Minecraft and Sonic Racing Crossworlds? This is so cool, man. That'll be $90. Man, it seems like with every win Sonic takes, he just takes another L. And that's not an exception here. Sonic Racing Crossworlds Digital Deluxe Edition will cost $90 US. That's fucking terrible. Don't get me wrong, even though I'm not that excited for Sonic Racing Crossworlds, I was still going to buy the game, especially after there were so many character reveals like Joker from Persona 5, Miku, and fucking Steve and Alex from Minecraft. But $90 for the Deluxe Edition is just too much, man. It's too damn much. Now, you might be thinking, oh, this is the Deluxe Edition price. Maybe the content in the Deluxe Edition is worth that much. We'll get into that soon. But what about the base price? They're not forcing anybody to spend $90 on this game. Surely I can just pick up a copy for like $50. Oh. The standard edition for Sonic Racing Crossworlds costs $70 US, making it the highest priced Sonic game so far. Yes, Sonic Racing Crossworlds. Sonic Frontiers, the latest 3D mainline Sonic release, was $60. Sonic Superstars was $60. Sonic X Shadow Generations was $50. And the last Sonic Racing game, Team Sonic Racing, was $40. But, that game was pretty ass. But Sonic Racing Crossworlds had the balls to be $70. I don't care how much content this game has. I don't care if this is the best game of all time. No game is worth $70, especially a racing spin-off game that's still charging extra for a stupid season pass. This is the price for an everyday next-gen video game, which, would be fine for a mainline release. Like, the next big mainline Sonic game will probably cost $70, and I would be perfectly fine with that. But again, this is a spin-off racing game. Come on, what are we doing? There is a solid chance that the last-gen versions will cost $60, and the Deluxe Edition will cost maybe $80, but as of now, that is purely speculation, and even if that were true, I still think charging $60 is a little too much for this game. But let's go ahead and circle back to the Deluxe Edition. What are they putting in this edition of the game to warrant that extra $20? Well, you get 3-day early access to the game, which, damn, it kinda sucks that we're doing this again. Like when Sonic X Shadow Generations did it, I still didn't like it, but at least that game didn't cost $90. $20. You also get some Sonic Prime characters. Okay, that's pretty cool. But obviously, the main attraction here is the Season Pass. And yes, I will admit, this seems like it has a lot of value. There's 6 different DLC packs that will be granted to you over the course of however long, with the first one being the Minecraft DLC. If the rest of the DLC is like this, with a course and some racers for each pack, I would say the extra $20 is a pretty good deal for it, and I would buy it if the base game didn't cost $70, which I guess is kind of the main issue here. I think it's just really funny how I've been seeing so much love for Sonic Racing Crossworlds, mainly because of the fact that Mario Kart World costs so much. $80 for the base edition of a video game is criminal, and I'm not trying to say that Sonic Racing Crossworlds being priced like this is worse than how Mario Kart World is priced. But I think it's important to point out the fact how so many people have been crediting Sonic Racing Crossworlds for being the pro-consumer choice, for being the affordable option, while Mario Kart was a result of Nintendo's greed and anti-consumerism. But guys, these games are only $10 apart, and Mario Kart is not pushing day 1 DLC. Again, I'm not saying that what Crossworlds is doing is worse than Mario Kart, because at least the deluxe stuff is purely optional. But still, the gap is way closer than you think. Oh, but we gotta talk about the Limited Run Games Collector's Edition for this game. For the low price of $250, you get all of this junk. Unless if you get the PC version, which is $200 for some reason. I don't think I have much room to speak on this because I bought the Sonic X Shadow Generations Collector's Edition for $250, which, by the way, I still gotta wait another month for all of that to arrive. Fun. And yes, if you buy the Crossworlds Collector's Edition, you will be waiting until March to get your stuff. This is more of a dig at Limited Run and not Sega, but it's still weird to me how Sega keeps releasing stuff through Limited Run, even after all of the customer complaints of their bad business practices. So, what is there to take away from this? What is the moral of the story? Well, I'm going to say the same thing that I said in that Sonic X Shadow Generations for Switch 2 rant. Sega is not your friend, and they never were. It's time to stop acting like they're some angel when it comes to good business practices, when they're not. I love how they're involved with the community. I love how they allow fan projects and mods. I love how Sega has forever been pro-community. But they are not pro-consumer. I feel like there needs to be a well-established difference between the two. Sega has forever been practicing things like this, even when Sonic wasn't in his best spot. Like, remember when they tried to charge real money for Super Sonic and Sonic Forces? Remember when they charged extra money for some remixes in Sonic Colors Ultimate? You know what? Remember Sonic Colors Ultimate, Sonic Origins, Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric, Sonic 06? All of those full-priced games that definitely weren't finished? You know what? I think I've made my point. I've said what I needed to say. I will not be buying Sonic Racing Crossworlds at launch, but if you want to buy it, then go right ahead. Who am I to tell you what to do with your own money? That will never make sense to me.
So going back to what I said about Nintendo being the first and everybody else copying them, why do you think that Sony PlayStation made a handheld? Remember the PSP or the PS Vita? Right? They were trying to compete with Nintendo. Right? And the PSP Vita, those were great innovations. Those were absolutely amazing. I don't know who still has those. I mean, I'm guessing a lot of people still have those, but those two were absolutely amazing devices, right? And it was great to be a gamer in the 2000s. It was absolutely fantastic.
Hey guys, in a world pushing you to own nothing and be happy, crypto is your key to survival. Join Angry's Crypto Academy to master buying, selling, and trading crypto. Make huge profits and safeguard your wealth. Plus, discover the one crypto virtually no one is talking about, poised to create new millionaires in the upcoming bull run.
Industry collapse. I mean, I know that, PlayStation, Xbox, and all these other companies, the AAA games, right? The AAA games, that's part of the video game collapse. But then came the pricing. Then came the pricing. And Nintendo was arrogant enough to try and push the idea and actually implement it. $70 games, $80 games, $100 games. $100 games, guys. And this is why, a lot of people feel that gaming just isn't fun anymore, because it feels like we keep, it's just becoming more and more expensive to be a gamer. So it is much cheaper, right? It is actually much cheaper to be a retro gamer, to just go back in time, Go back in time. Try out retro games. Go back to the NES. Go back to the PS2. Go back to the GameCube, the Nintendo 64. You know, like modern gaming has become so bad and expensive that people are literally getting inside that time machine with Doctor Who and going back to the 90s and 2000s. I'm not a Doctor Who fan, by the way. I don't know. That's just the first thing that came to mind. Right? Retro gaming is literally booming because of this crap. It's literally booming because of this. Okay. Now we talk about Nintendo, but I also want to talk about other things regarding AAA gaming and other things that are contributing to the collapse of the gaming industry. Okay. So like I said, gaming isn't fun anymore, for various reasons. It just kind of feels like, we keep getting the same thing over and over and over again. Right. And I think we can all agree, many video games are becoming graphically boring. A lot of games are just starting to look too similar. They're starting to look too similar. How many times have we seen the same open world game with realistic graphics? A lot of these studios, they think that because it's realistic graphics that automatically just makes it better or more entertaining. Right? But when everything becomes realistic, then it's not fun anymore. It's kind of like a good example of this would be like having a bachelor's degree. In the 1980s and the 90s, if you had a bachelor's degree, for decades, having a bachelor's degree guaranteed you success. But now, and I think this really escalated since the 2000s into 2010s, if you have a bachelor's degree, there's so many of them. Like millions and millions of people have a bachelor's degree now that companies are like, you know what, we're just not going to hire you guys even with a bachelor's degree because there's just so many of you and we just can't hire you all. Right? So the more you have of something, the more boring it gets, and the more it's like it just doesn't. It's not special anymore. Right? It's not special anymore. And I think this guy kind of explained it better. I'll play the clip.
All right, I'm not gonna lie. Is it just me, or does gaming just not feel fun anymore? Like, bruh, I'm a gamer. I'll cook you up in any game. Call of Duty, Fortnite, Minecraft, GTA, Rocket League, Mortal Kombat. It doesn't matter. All right, that's besides the point. So hear me out. You see, gaming felt special back in the day because of innovation. Games like Minecraft, Fortnite completely changed the gaming industry. That's because they delivered new concepts and mechanics that we as players were completely new to. So that's what made gaming fun, because we would get into the game and practice on those skills day after day to get good and better at the game. Remember when everybody was ass at Fortnite? And guess what? That was when it was at its peak, because more or less everybody was on the same skill level. Now you can't even hop into a lobby without there being somebody with TTV in their name who's a YouTuber, streamer, TikToker who's about to decimate the whole playing field. Now you gotta sweat just to match their energy, which is unenjoyable. But even if you don't think that's the reason, you can also say that it's because of rapid evolution of just gaming itself. You see, like 2011 to like 2017, that was peak gaming. We didn't know how good we had it back in the day. But that's because every single year, every single brand that we liked playing was improving with new gameplay, new graphics, new concepts, so on and so forth, making it more enjoyable. Nowadays, we, the players, are expecting better graphics, new concepts, and new mechanics, which takes a lot of time and resources to develop and like map out, which is why we feel gaming is dry, because we keep getting the same thing over and over again until that new revolutionary game like Minecraft and Fortnite. And also, we got to keep it real here. Nostalgia plays a big part in this too. Back in the day when you was a little kid playing Black Ops 2, Minecraft, GTA, with not a care in the world, life was great. But now it's like, fuck, I got an essay due at 11:59.
So yes, guys, like I said, there is just a lack of innovation. What do you think? What do you think? One of the reasons why the PlayStation 2 was one of the best gaming consoles ever was because of its variety of games. The innovation during that era was immense. Games like Kingdom Hearts, I was obsessed with that game. Kingdom Hearts, that's my game right there. Kingdom Hearts, I mean, freaking Disney with Final Fantasy. That's innovation, you know, taking two things and putting them together. How many people actually do that nowadays? And making it work and sell millions of copies and actually having it become successful? It's not so common. And back then, Square Enix experimented with that idea. See, back in the day, companies will experiment. They would innovate. It was okay to push new ideas. Now it's not. Now you have to play it safe. Now you can't innovate. You can't introduce too many new ideas. Otherwise, you know, the company's afraid that they're going to lose money. Which is absolutely ridiculous because the best franchises were originated from somebody, you know, just came out of nowhere. You know, it's like George Lucas said, you know, Star Wars came out of nowhere. It's an original idea. Anyways, going back, so the PS2, games like Spyro the Dragon, Crash Bandicoot, and the old popular Final Fantasy X. Final Fantasy X is one of the greatest, and that was a PS2 game. It was one of the absolute best Final Fantasy games in the entire series, I tell you. In the entire series. In the entire series. So it's really... You know what? I think it's a psyop. Call me a conspiracy theorist. Call me a conspiracy theorist, but I think there's people within the gaming industry that are trying to crash it. They're trying to crash the gaming industry so that they can, I don't know, for their whatever evil plan that they have, right? Because if you take a look at games like Shadow of the Colossus, remember Shadow of the Colossus? Absolute banger. Absolute banger. One of my favorite PS2 games. I haven't seen another game like that in years. A decade probably. Shadow of the Colossus had this very unique gameplay of one warrior going up and fighting giants. A warrior fighting giants. Imagine that. We don't see that a lot. All right, we don't see gameplay like that anymore. Just these very unique stories that you can go back and visit and you never get tired of playing it. I play Shadow of the Colossus I think like 5 times now. I never get tired of playing that game. Never. Right? So, yeah, unique gameplay like Hi-Fi Rush. And one of the reasons why I think it's a, you know, there's like a there's a group of people that are trying to intentionally collapse the gaming industry is because, I mean, take a look at games like Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush had a very, very unique style of gameplay and a very unique idea to apply music to an action game, right? Fighting with the beat. And then that game was actually successful, but then of course Microsoft had to go and close the gaming studio. So here you have a very innovative, a successful indie game. Microsoft says, oh no, we gotta shut down that studio. I don't know. Something's going on there, buddy. Something is definitely going on there. What's happening? What's up with that? They gotta shut down the studio of a successful indie game? You know, the creators of Hi-Fi Rush, I wish that they would have been, you know, with another publisher. At this point, I think that indie developers, they should try to just self-publish the game on their own. On as many platforms as they can to avoid being shut down. Because when you are owned by one of these, you know, these giants like Nintendo, Sony, or Microsoft, they can shut you down for making a good game. Doesn't that sound crazy? Doesn't that sound crazy? Doesn't that sound crazy? You make a good game that's getting good reviews and they want to shut you down, man. Think about it. Think about that shit, buddy. Oh my god. Anyways, I'm gonna leave it there. I am going to leave it there. All right, dudes. That's gonna be it for this video. Guys, make sure to follow Angry Guy. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Make sure to hit the notification bell for future notifications. Comment below. Tell me what you think about the collapse of the gaming industry. Share this video. Like this video. I'll see you guys next time. It's your boy and the Matrix. Godspeed, baby.